My baby. It's been almost a month since I've driven it because we've been traveling so much. I'm home, back in the shop. But as soon as we drove it, I broke it. I broke it. It won't even move. Let's fix it. Here we go. Our truck originally came with a 10 speed, and Phil said right away, I've got a couple 13 speeds kicking around. I don't think the person who built this in the first place really knew what they were doing. Either way, it's gonna be a lot better than it was. Oh, that's sick. Yeah, we got a transfer track. Now your injection lines are tight. They are in between the rockers here. So okay, so if you guys have been following along, we had a 300 horsepower Cat, and that injection pump was seized because the rack is seized inside the pump. Can't really fix that. Once it's rusted and seized solid, because the clearances are within the thousandths of an inch, you can't just sand that off without that pump leaking. So we put a 4 1/4 pump on there because we want more power. What that did was the first time that I towed the tank down the road, because it's legal for the road now, I tromped on it to make that beautiful music coming out of those 7-inch stacks. But I think what that did is push those pencil injectors past where it's ever gone before. Remember that to get more power out of a diesel, you just give it more fuel. As long as the air is there to burn it cleanly, you've got more horsepower, more torque. So with those pencil injectors only getting enough fuel to spray 300 horse, they open this far. Something like that every time we did an injection. When I tromped on it with 4 1/4, it went this far, and then I think it got stuck. So now we're just pouring fuel into the engine, smoking like crazy, won't even run. I'll try and start it. I don't want to do anything too long, but we're going to replace the injectors in it. So all the injectors for all the different horsepower ratings are all exactly the same. All the magic happens in the pump, which is why we rebuilt the pump. If a diesel's not running, it's not getting fuel, or just loads way too much. I hope that's the issue. We can pull the injectors and test them to see which ones are bad, but the injectors really aren't that expensive. So we're gonna have them out anyway. We're gonna put new ones in. So let's, I'll try and fire it up, but I think we're basically just going to replace the injector. Here we go. So I left the key on and the battery's as dead as a doornail. So I'm not gonna wait for the batteries to charge, we're just gonna change the injectors. So what's been amazing is, like I said, it's been a month, and we did replace every hose and fitting and line on the outside, but there is nothing. It's been sitting a month. That's grease from something else. There is no, or maybe that's raccoon crap. Might be raccoon crap, because yeah. There is no leaks out of this Cat whatsoever. That's amazing. Before we pulled the engine, we got it running with that injection pump, and then I put it in there and I ran it about 5 heat cycles, ran about 10 gallons of fuel through it, just idling and high idle. But again, the engine's not working, so it's not dumping that fuel in. Put a pile of ATF in that fuel just to try and, because I foresaw the same thing happened with Phil's engine, is one of the injectors stuck, and he got his to free up with ATF because he's got a horseshoe up his butt. So where his stuff works for free, I have to pay to fix it. So I did try that. We tried it again when it started happening. We put ATF in there. It started first at an idle, like off idle. It would pop and bang and smoke, and then it would clear up. And then as we were driving it on our test drive, it got worse and worse and worse until it almost just barely limped back into the driveway. Seems to be worse, eh? Yeah. So first things first, we just have to pull the valve covers off, top and the intermediate. We're gonna get the injection lines off on the inside, and then there is a tool that we need to pull the injectors just to take the retaining nut off, and Phil made one of those about 30 years ago and I borrowed that. So we're all set, here we go. So to get out of the injectors, you gotta take the valve cover off, the intermediate valve cover and the bottom valve cover. Take your injection lines off. Now your injection lines are tight. They are in between the rockers here. So Cat sells a tool and it looks something like this. Something that you could get at Princess Auto for very, very cheap. 12-point works best. You can just straddle the line and then take the nut off one little piece at a time. And there's also a tool to take off the retaining nut, and that looks like this. So it's got two little holes on it that spins around the injector and holds it down. And Phil said he had a tool for that, so I borrowed that, which is just two little notches welded to a pipe around a socket. So I would have taken a bigger socket, I think, and shaved the socket down and left two nubs. He went the different route and welded it on, but it works. So those fit inside the holes here like so, and then you just spin the collar out. Now, to take your injectors out, there's another tool that Cat sells that spins inside the injector because it's not your typical nut. But all you have to do to take your injector off is take your retaining nut and put it on maybe 3 threads, top of your injector, then put this washer on there, like so, and then just spin your injector line back into it again and tighten your injector line. That will actually just pull the injector out. You'll feel it pop. Make sure that you've got enough threads in the injector and enough threads on your cap, and then when you bottom out, all you have to do is spin this out farther and tighten again. When you run out of threads, you can just take a pry bar and lift it out the rest of the way. If your socket doesn't work because it is too tinny and it spreads out, just be careful of that, but you can also use an impact socket, cut the same amount out of a deep 1/2 inch. Super simple. Here we go. Okay, assembly is the exact opposite as this assembly. The hold down nut for the injector itself gets torqued to 35 foot-pounds. The injection line on the top of the injector gets torqued to 30. The big 1 1/8 size head bolt for the jakes gets torqued to 100 foot-pounds, and the 3/8 bolt with the 9/16 head gets torqued to 50 foot-pounds. Put your valve covers back on again, and that's it. Any questions? I've got one. Is that the original problem? I don't know. It was definitely fuel related. Timing could have slipped, but usually when timing slips, it goes from a run to a no run. It doesn't fix itself. I'm not exactly sure if the timing advance could do that or not, but that's that. The injectors got worse and worse and worse. I have faith in our injection pump rebuild. So fingers crossed. Let's fire it up and see if it will start. Battery should be charged by now. And I have one hose clamp to tighten on the breather. And my light, drop it back down again. I hope this does it. Here we go. Okay, so that seemed to fix it. We might play a little bit with timing yet, but that's it for now. We did a little bit more stuff while I was in the shop. I made the battery lids for it, so the batteries are all secure now. A couple of loose bolts that needed to be finished up and tightened up. I need to drive to a place that sells stainless and just park in the parking lot and replace all the hardware when I didn't have the right stainless that I use normal washers and nuts for. But we'll get to that. For now, few things to do yet. Air conditioning, because it's really hot. That's why we're switching from coffee to ice cap. And the air conditioning doesn't work. So we'll work on that as well. But we got one more surprise for you. We're gonna go see our favorite neighbor, Phil. and see what he's got for us. Here we go. This is a 53-foot flatbed, and I asked Phil, what are you doing with it? He goes, I don't know, not a whole lot. So we talked to V&R, said, hey, if we get some rims and tires, do you want to split a trailer between the three of us? We can't all use it at the same time anyway. And Phil said yes, and V&R said yes, and I said yes. So we're gonna look this trailer over, see if it's safe enough to put back on the road, put some rims and tires on it, clean it up, put some LED lights on it. We got a nice flatbed for, I have no idea what, but we have a flatbed. I still have a couple more days of driving, and I go for my license 1 week tomorrow. So cross my fingers, I hope we can take this. And then yeah, you'll have to stick around for that. We got a whole video coming up with driving school and all that as well. We're gonna go, I think there's an air leak in this tank, so we might have to drag it across the road. But we'll see. My handle is stowed. Okay, so I don't know much about this trailer other than I called Phil and I said, hey, what are you doing with that flatbed? What does it need? He goes, not much, probably just some tires. I think Phil lied a little bit. he's not quite honest. It's not bad. There's a little bit. Somebody caught this here, so Vince is gonna really like that. It's not bent, it's just ripped, so we can probably patch that up and weld that C back on there again. The back tires are locked up, as you saw driving down the road there, so I filled in all my potholes nicely as I was coming. He didn't lie, these tires are toast, but they are hub piloted, so that's good. The trailer itself isn't really rotten, not that I can see anywhere, but we got a hole in the air tank, so we got to fix that. And then maybe clean it up so it actually looks presentable. All the straps have to go. All of these need to go, so I don't know what you guys would do with this. Would you sandblast it? Would you clean it up? I gotta see what year it is and what the value of this is, and then I guess we'll go from there. But for now, we're not gonna get too excited about the trailer. I think Phil was really excited to get it off his lawn. And now I don't really have much spot for it on my lawn. We got a little bit more stuff to do on the truck, a lot more to do on the F350, so back in the shop. The truck driving has really taken a toll on my time in the shop. It's 103 hours to get your license in Canada, and also driving back and forth and scheduling all that. It actually does it's taken a huge chunk of my time. So I'm hoping to take the truck on the driver test, try to get my license in a 35-year-old cab over. There's a few things that still have to line up for that, but I'd go for my license next week. So we're gonna do a couple trips with the truck just for my driver's training. and then you'll have to wait for all those videos out on this channel, DGHD. If you haven't checked out the whole build on the truck, that's all on this entire channel, and we bought that to pull our tank around, so check out those videos as well. Remember, if you're not filthy, you're not rich, you're probably not making money, you're probably not keeping your own stuff, old stuff on the road, or grabbing junk and fixing it up. And you should get out there and do it yourself, because if you're not filthy, you're not rich. Here we go.